So, okay, it has been quite a while since I made like a tutorial of this kind of scale, but yeah, so in this tutorial I want to explain to you and show you how to set up Unreal Engine 5 without plugins and all that other fancy stuff. You just need the default like engine, and we will like play around with settings and create like really beginner friendly small little things, so you end up with a retro PS1 style version of Unreal Engine 5. Okay, let's just like straight. It will be a bit rough. I just want to keep it very streamlined and stuff, and I will try not to edit a lot of stuff out, just maybe very long loading screens or something like that. So I'm here in the Epic Games launcher under Unreal Engine, and basically I'm using Unreal Engine .1.1, but the current version, the newest version would be this one. But the thing is, when you use like here it's two versions behind. The most current version is always like one of the buggier ones because it's currently in development. So I like to use like an older one but fleshed out. But for this tutorial it really doesn't matter if you use an even older version or like the newest version. It should like work with all of them. Also a bit sorry, I'm totally sick and I haven't talked the whole day except now. But hey, let's just start the engine. And yeah, so we will like I will try to cover really everything except like creating like quests and game stuff, and I just want you to set up like from start to finish a retro Unreal Engine basically. And I really want to cover everything, even the shipping, so the exporting of the game as a game itself, because for some fucking reason nobody is covering that shit in tutorials. They all just like straight up head into like creating a game but never show you how to export it as an actual game. So let me also cover that stuff. Yeah, so the first time loading the Unreal Engine will take quite a while because your computer isn't yet like used to running all those files and stuff. So the first time is always like the longest one. Okay, then we're here in like this recent projects, games, videos, architecture, blah 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 blah. We will aim for the game plank version, and this is not plank enough. When we started this version, the plank project, we will rip out even more stuff. So yeah, very important. This can add up to like quite, I mean not in our case, but quite big file sizes. So the project location, keep that in mind, like save it on wherever you have like good storage. But I mean, we will like get over multiple gigabyte. We will stay in the sphere of a gigabyte and maybe even less. Okay, so I will save it in my documents and Unreal projects, and here we have Blueprint or C++, target platform, desktop, and quality settings. Let's change it to scalable. Don't toggle start content and ray tracing. I have my own package for you guys. And name the project. Let's call it retro, blah blah blah, I don't know, retro UE, why not? A base. The cool thing is, after you set up once this project, you can just like duplicate it and reuse it and create more and more content within that one base project. So let's create it. This will take a bit. I will try to be as fast as possible, but to go like, I don't want to waste your time. But yeah, there are a few loading screens, like I said, but it will get faster and faster after you load it up like once. Okay, yeah, dismiss. Okay, so this will prep a few things. Let me show and explain a few like navigation stuff. If you don't have the content browser open, it's down here, content drawer, just draw it out and you can dock in layout and stuff like that. If you have if some windows are not here, or for example here I have the outliner, place actors and world settings. If you don't, or like press them away or something like that, you have always the option here in the Windows, place actors and world settings. You can always like bring those back. Okay, for navigation, the right mouse button is for panning around, the left mouse button is for just rotating, middle mouse is up and down, and scroll is zoom. You can increase the speed of your camera with this value here. And yeah, basically with the right mouse button, with the panning and with WASD, you can like fly around and shit. And with E, you pull up, and with Q, you go down. Okay, and when you want to focus on something, click at it and press F to focus. Pretty straightforward, but let's go back to 4. We have here options for lit or unlit, wireframe, and so on. And we have here, when you select something, snap to surface, or like local or global rotation and stuff. When you untoggle this, you can move freely based on the grid. When you toggle it, it will like snap to these units. The same for scaling and rotating, but we will get into that later on. We have here select objects, it's just like selecting. We have here moving. We have here rotate and scale. Okay. So, but just like I said, let's reduce our scene. This is way too fancy for our needs, but I mean you can go with it, but we don't need it. So down here in the content browser, right click, level. Let's call it prototype. Prototype. Level. Something like that. This is basically a level just for us to figure stuff out. Okay, we want to save it. Yes. And this is a pure nothingness. And let's place a few things here with the player actors. Let's start with directional light. Pull it in. And let's create a floor. Under geometry we have here shapes. It's just like those shapes. And geometry, you can edit the geometry a bit and stuff. Okay, let's focus on the cube, F. And down here you can edit like the size of it. On the Z axis, this is the blue one. I want it small, but I want to like want it bigger, like something like 1000. And down here in the location, reset it to 0 everything. Okay, perfect. So basically this is our ground floor. I'm again using WASD, like a first person shooter, and holding the left mouse button to pan around and to fly around. So let me just maybe also put it here in the middle or something. You want this is basically like a sun. So if we go back in here on the lights, this is basically a sun, and you can rotate it and change the direction of the light. And point light is just like a simple like point light, like a yeah. So it totally depends. It's way more, this is more for environments and stuff, or for lighting individual stuff, and this is for open world and stuff. Yeah. But we can't quite see the current state of the light because we have no objects. Let's go under shapes. Let's just take the cube and like put it in. And now we can like get into the nitty-gritty bit of those. As you can see, it's snapping to always a tenth of the cube. And if we, for example, select the cube, and we have here Q, W, E, R. So when you have selected like the cube, you can like switch between the modes up here. Q, W, and they are also next to each other, E and Q. So it allows you to very like fast change the mode. And when you hover with the mouse above those two, or those two, or those two, you can like snap to only this those two axes. While hovering above like all of them, you change like all of them. This is especially important for like scaling. Hovering on the middle cube will scale everything up, but just hovering like here on those will scale it just on those axes. And as usual with most like software, Control Z to go back and shit. Rotating, it's also snapping. And so the snapping I like to use on a big scale 50 or 100. So if I use 50 and use the moving tool, it's snapping way like bigger steps. I think we need to go 1 minus down. So it's above the grid. Like that. Okay. Also we have here perspective and left, right, front and stuff. This lets you see in detail how your game is looking like from the right, from the left, and stuff like that. And perspective is the default. So if I want to, for example, the red line is the bottom. Let me change to 10 or even 5. I can just like take the floor, snap it one up, and then perfectly align with the grid. Now let me change back to perspective. Okay, so the light is now very like photorealistic. I'm sorry. And we have a glow and stuff, all that fancy lighting stuff. And as you can see, while rotating the outline, the directional light, we can direct like the direction of the sun. Yeah. So this one cube is very helpful to like figure out what's going on with the lighting. And I would say we start ripping stuff out of the scene. Oh, very important. So you can up here save like your project, but individual assets will be listed under unsaved down here. And if you click here under, let me unsave and save selected. If you, very important, so here's now all saved. Hold Alt, this will be very like helpful. Hold Alt and move like an asset, it will duplicate. Hold Alt and drag it out. Now it's duplicated. Let's select multiple. For that control, hold control and select something. Hold Alt, drag it out, and again, drag it out. Perfect. Okay. So here in the outliner, I would recommend you to keep everything like nice and tight. So you can create here a folder and let's call it base mesh or something like that. The floor is already in there. Let's, for that it's what's the button above control? I'm not sure. It's, I think it's control, right? So if you hold like, is this control? Oh god. Oh, it's shift. Okay. So when you hold control, you can like select individual stuff in your scene. And when you hold shift and you click the first and the last one of something, you select everything in between. And for example, the floor is already in our folder. Let's rename it very quickly. F2 floor. And let's click the first cube and shift. Hold shift and the last one and drag it into the folder. Perfect. Everything nice and tight. And now we should be able to like save the project first, and we can now start ripping shit out of the engine settings, because the lighting is way too beautiful and perfect. and we don't need that shit for our retro stuff. Okay, so edit, project settings, and under, oh, also very important, so we have here, you can always type stuff in here, but under maps and modes we created, this is the default open world blank bullshit map, we don't need that shit. We have our own prototype level, and every time you change something, for example, this is now, every time we start up our project, it will open up with whatever we set here in the editor startup map or the default game map when you start the game. Now let's press export. We're exporting those settings. Save. And now this will be our default. Okay, we can now go under, or let's type in bloom, because we noticed we have bloom going on. Bloom. It's under rendering setting, default settings, bloom. Get rid of that shit. And the global, here, global illumination, dynamic global illumination method. This is under lumen, and other options would be a plugin, standalone ray tracing, or screen space. And we hit none. We don't need the fancy lighting stuff. And there's one more. Let's go under rendering down here. And we don't need that one. Scroll down. None. And reflections, exactly. Reflections is also under lumen. We need none. Get rid of that shit. And you can also, like, yeah, nanites, we won't need them. But bloom, ambient occlusion, auto exposure, and yeah, here default settings. We don't need bloom, we don't need ambient occlusion, we don't need it for baked lighting, we don't need auto exposure. Auto exposure, change it to manually and keep it as 1. No motion blur, and I guess we are good. That's it, yeah. And export the rendering settings. Perfect, let's close it down. Give it a save, and already we got rid of the glow and a lot of fancy stuff. But we still see, no, the shadows are like pretty like nice. So here's a personal favorite, the directional light. We have here multiple settings for the light. I would always get rid of, when you use light, the soft angle. Don't use it. Keep it as 0. The intensity, I mean, it's self-explanatory, I think. And here, affect light, affect world. It's basically turning it totally off and on. And cast shadows. Old school retro engine didn't have that shit, so get rid of it. Now we have no shadows. And now it looks way more like it's supposed to be. But if you need shadows and like shadows, I mean, keep it. It's totally up to you. But I will, for now on, get rid of all cast shadows and stuff. Okay, that's up to you. And you have to define it for each individual light. So let's, for example, take a point light. And as you can see here, it's on again. So let's get rid of that. You know what? To make a more like moody scene, let's outliner, get rid of the directional light, kill it. This looks way cooler. Love it. down here. And here the attention radius. You can blow it up or make it smaller and stuff like that. But let's keep it as a default for now. And I don't want shadows. With the shadows, it would look like this. It's very nice, but this is like an outcome of, you know, ray tracing and bouncing off light rays and stuff. When you need it, when you want it, keep it. Shadows can be very atmospherical, but they're not. They take a lot of like atmosphere from a lot of retro vibe out of it. So it's up to you. Cast shadows. I take it out. And okay, let's give it a save. Our current version. And so we got rid of a lot of bullshit, a lot of unnecessary bullshit. And how about we... when you press up here, new editor window, it will pop up a new window, and you will, by default, you have like the same flying option like in the editor. You can like try the level and stuff. Already looks pretty cool. Escape to get out of it. And when you press standalone game, it will open up as it and load as an individual like game, like how it would like end up when you export your game. And exporting a game out of an engine has the name shipping, packaging or shipping. Packaging or shipping your game. And this is here on the platforms. You have your multiple platforms for whatever you want to use it. I use Windows. And I mean, you have to look into the other ones, but when you want to package your game for like sending it to someone, upload it to itch.io or whatever, you need a SDK. And I have currently SDK installed, but you probably need a SDK. So let's, before we like continue, let's cover that shit. Because I think personally, before you did anything to your level, so we didn't change anything or something like that, you should like try to export your empty level once, at least once from the get-go, and maybe in individual points of your like development cycle to, you know, because if you make the perfect game and you find out in the last step that you can't like export your game because you made along the way some mistake, you will hate yourself forever. So I would recommend you package in between your development cycle. Okay, very like, let's go into the, I want to get rid of all the other options because I only need window. So under project settings and supported platforms, I get rid of everything I don't need, even though I love Linux, but Windows. And let's close it down. And now on the platforms we only have the options for Windows. And this can also like decrease the file size of your package game if you don't have like the option for HoloLens or whatever. Okay. So about the packaging and the SDK. For your SDK, you will need so okay, here we go. So you will need two things. It's the Windows SDK with this URL, developer.microsoft.com, ENUS or whatever, and Down here, download the installer. Click it, download it, and install it. And really check like the URL that you're using the real deal and not like something else. Download the installer, install it, and do whatever it tells you to do. And the second one will be NetCore. It's also by Microsoft, .net.microsoft.com. That's the second part of the SDK basically. And you have down here I'm using Windows, so Windows x64. Click that one, and it's like when you click it, it's already like in your download folder. I don't need it. I already have it. And download is it's also already like starting up instantly. Okay. After you have both installed, you need to go wherever you installed the current Unreal Engine version. You're trying to use your SD for, you want to package. I'm using the 5.1 and I saved it under like my D flash, SD, whatever. Go in there. Then you go under Engine, Binary, Third Party, and what was the next one? I think it was .NET. Yeah, .NET. And here, somewhere here, should be host FXR, the version, and this one you control and copy that thing. Then you go back to Binary and go here inside .NET and Automatic Tools, and here you just insert it. Right click, insert. I already have it in here. Okay, and basically after that I would just recommend you like save it and maybe restart it, but I mean it could be also fine without restarting it. And you can here refresh platform status, refresh it, and it's acquiring, and now it supports the SDK. And after that I would like recommend you to package your project for the first time. This will also, the first time will take a bit, but this will be very like important just to test if it's even working. And I would like figure out the packaging before you even start like doing something major with it, inside the game engine. Because I mean, if you can create like games but can't export and upload them somewhere, what's the point, if you know what I mean? So package project, and for now I would like just to, let's go with shipping, Windows, project shipping, let's save it on the desktop. This will now create a little thing, and whenever something is red, it means something is wrong or needs to be installed or something like that. So like I said, like do this at the start and not at the like end of your project after you program the game. Perfect, we are done. Check it out. If you do the Windows folder, it's called, double click. It's looking like this. We have here the packaged version of our game. Let's take a look. The total file size of our game is currently 400 megabytes. That means if we zip it up the game, it will be around 190 megabyte. That's pretty like fine. This is just the engine itself basically. And yeah, on low poly and retro games there won't be like a lot of extra megabytes. It really the base engine takes the majority of the like file size, and that's also sometimes a negative point for a lot of like developer. But with retro games and stuff, it will only like add up very slightly as we get go. But we can also like always get rid of certain settings and stuff to make it even smaller. But I mean, that's a thing in itself, and yeah, it will take up too long. So let's just try our packaged game. I think we're currently in the floor. Perfect. So we know it works, and we have a game. We got a game. We have no functionality, so we can't like leave the game. But I mean, it works. Let's close it down that way. And yeah, let's delete it because we don't need it. Okay. Like I said, very important SDK and stuff. Set it up now. So I guess we can like get into we don't need full HD or 4K for our game. We can live with smaller file sizes than this. And faster rendering times. So let's open up the project. I have it under documents for some reason. Makes no sense at all. Let's go in the file. And we have here configuration and default engine. And now let's scroll down until... Oh, here it is. Those three. With those, let's make them stand out. Temporarily AA upsampling. Let's change this to false. Anti-aliasing 0, perfect. And MSAA count to 1. This is basically the... If we now set up like a low screen resolution, so we want our pixelation, we only will need half or 1/4 of the total possible resolution of our screen. And if we do that, we reduce the screen quality basically. It will try to even that out with upscaling. But with those three, we got rid of the upscaling. Basically, we want the nice pixelation. We don't want the blurry upscaling. Shit going on. So now we add two more things. We need r dot upscale quality, scale dot quality, and you need to type it in exactly as I do, equals, with no space, 0. That's the fourth and last one, to really make sure like there's no upscaling happening after we reduce the screen percentage. Screen per percentage equals, and you can either like by default it's 100, but you can like get half of the resolution or 1/4 of the resolution. I will go with 1/4 because that's more accurate with retro consoles. So this part, and give it a save. And when we now like play it in the editor window, we won't see anything about our like changes. We need to start it. We will only like see the changes in the new editor window preview when we like save the current project and restart the project. But when we start it as a standalone game, it will apply immediately. This will take a bit, because it's also the first time that we start our game via the editor as a standalone game. Okay, so we are inside the game. And as you can see, we have some nice pixelation going on. Already pretty retro, if you ask me. And again, we need to close it down that way. Okay. And how about we try to, because it could be that we like pressed or deleted something important in the configuration files. For that, let's package the game again on the desktop. Why not? Bibbidi bobbidi boop, and it's not done yet. Yeah, it's done. Okay, let's head to the. Here we have a new Windows folder. Open it up. It's a new one. Double click, and now it should be perfect. We have our pixelation. We render the game with only 1/4 of the total resolution. This will totally like boost our performance, the performance of our game, because we need only 1/4. The floor is a bit like blurry and stuff because we haven't like applied the because the texture itself is blurry because we haven't changed it, but we will talk about that later on. But yeah, it looks great. But let's close it down again. I need to close it down with the bar again. Anyway, let's jump back into the engine. And because I like to like use it with the new editor window, but it doesn't apply the changes yet, I want to like close it down once and open it up again. Close. Make sure to save it, please. And jump into the Retro UE base. Double click. Give it a load, and now it should like apply all the changes we made in the configuration file, in the engine default file, into new editor window. Perfect, exactly as I said. Now it's applying. Now we don't need to start it as a full game. We can just like use it in this preview mode. Nice. Okay, so far so good. Now our scene looks a bit like bland and stuff. How about we import some materials and some assets to bulk out our prototype level a bit more. For that, let's create a folder, right click, new folder, and call it Assets. And another one, Materials. And I want them in the code. Yeah. over here. Okay, content, materials, and I prepped this folder here with just 5 textures and like my Satan with an animation. And let's throw in at first the textures. Drag select, accept the Satan, throw them in. And next up, under assets, let's create a folder. Characters. I would totally recommend you keep everything always organized. Satan. And throw this bad boy in. Just grab the FBX file and throw him in. So, skeleton mesh, yes. Import mesh, yes. Skeleton, none, because we have no skeletons in our scene yet. Import animations, nice. Import all. Blah blah blah, yeah, sure, whatever. This would take a bit. Oh, and this one here, there's one animation that is like not important. But we will take a look at Satan later. For now, let's focus on the materials. Let's start with the tile floor. Why not? Right click, create material. Let's call it PSX. Tile floor. Open it up. So we have here like the image, and here the rest of the material. If you want to like create like a material from scratch, so right click and create material, it will look like this. It's just like this one bar. And you can then just like take a material and just throw it in like that. And you just have to connect it, the nodes. Okay, but it's really not. Okay, delete. So we want to create a PS1 style material. This material will be able and capable of PS1 style jittering, and also it will contain all the like other characteristics of a PS1 style material to display the textures the right way. So currently, as you can see, this ball here is very shiny. We don't want this shininess. For that, hold 1 and left click. And once again, here the value, change it to 1. And we created values, and we want to set specular to 0 and the roughness to 1. Like this. Already looks pretty good. How about we give it a try? But before that, we need to change it here from raycast shadows, turn that shit off. We don't need raycasting. Ray tracing. Okay, so let's attack the floor. Just like drag drop the material onto it, like that. Let's give it a look. Oh, looks pretty great. And for example, currently the texture, as you can see, is blurry. If you want crisp pixels, you need to go into the image texture. You can get into the image texture by just like clicking it. You end up in this menu. Or when you're inside of your material, click the texture sample and double click here. So let's zoom in a bit with the mouse wheel or up here. And we have up here on the search, type in filter. Filter. Change default to nearest. Now we end up with crispy pixels. Give it a save. No, the same for here. Perfect. Now and I think we also need to change it on the texture group to 2D unfiltered. Yes, okay. Yes. Now we have crisp pixels. Yeah, that changes a lot, as you can see. Nice. Nice. So we created our first like texture, and when you, for example, work with one option is also, for example, to give the texture some emissiveness. We have here emissive color. Right click, you open up this search menu and multiply. Multiply it by 0.3. To make it basically unlit. Something like 2. Give it a save. Let's check out how this looks like. Yeah, so we still like are able to see here the, it's getting like lit. By the way, this blurriness like up front, this is a safety measurement for the rendering. It's not hurtful to your game. We can look into that later on, but now it's not that important. So as you can see, there comes some kind of emission from the texture. It's not fully unlit. And still like captures some of the light source. But I mean, that's really up to you, man. Check out 1 and then 0 again. Yeah. Okay. But if you want like a really dark dark textures and like this, you can like go with this option. But I mean, the PS1 had unlit like textures, so I mean that's really again up to you. So I really like the outcome of this. But maybe let's go with a very like little amount of unlitness, because this will give more like gets closer to the vertice lighting of the PS1. It gets very close, and the other one is like a bit more. So this looks more like the vertice lighting. But I mean, you can also like turn it off if you don't want it and want to go with very like dark areas and a more like realistic approach. Okay, so this is my current setup, and I want this to be a master material. I want to reuse it with different like settings and stuff and different textures. So this is basically our base material, and we can like define something as a parameter. This is this tab here. And for that, like, that means, let me just show you. So right click on the texture sample, convert to parameter. Let's call it PS1 texture and give it a save. And for example, we can also turn the emissiveness here into a parameter, promote to parameter. Emissiveness. And here the default value will be 0.1, the minimum will be 0, and the maximum will be 1. Save it. Like I said, you don't have to do the emissive color. I just think, in my personal opinion, it's closer to the like aesthetic of the PS1. Fully unlit, I would go with something like 0.3 or something like that, but we can give it a look in a moment. Let's close it down. We just saved it, and let's create an material instant, and this is basically the child of the master material. Let's recall, let's rename this one PS1 master material, and in this instant, double click in, you can like toggle here and here what you want to change. For example, here we can change the tile to the dirty floor, the dirty wall texture. And we can increase the emissiveness. Like I said, 0.3 is basically like really unlit. Let's just try it. And by the way, if you select a material or something like that, some assets in the content browser and hit F2, you can rename it. Dirty wall, and let's bring back the pixelation. So texture group 2D unfiltered, filter nearest, and save it. Let's apply our new material. You can just like drag it onto it, or you select like the asset and you have down here, you can just like drop down and choose it, or you can also like throw it in, but I like to like do it straight in the viewport. And as you can see, the like we went with 0.3, it's basically unlit, and the light is barely like lighting it up, in my opinion. But the floor looks good too. So yeah. What was that again? No, mid maps. I think that was the rendering thing. Yeah, exactly. So totally forgot about that. So also inside the texture, like this, we have here this blurriness in the distance, and these are the mip maps. I wasn't like remembering the word, but mip maps, it's basically like helping you to render out big scale like textures, because textures and movies and music are like the big things for your game to render out and display and stuff like that. So mip maps help you with rendering, but because we are anyway getting back like rendering performance through other things, we will talk in a moment, we could get rid of mip maps. it's also not looking very like retro, in my opinion. So let's get rid of the mid maps. It's the first thing here. No mid maps. Save, and let's try it again. And as you can see, perfect. Now this blurriness is gone. Let's do it for this one too. No mid maps. But I mean, it's really important just for large scale like textures like this one. We have 12 unsaved things. All the stuff we imported, like, give it a save very quickly. We make huge progress, my guys. I'm sorry if I'm like losing the. Sometimes it's a lot for me to like think about and stuff. Yeah. So the emissiveness, it's up to you. For the floor, I would go with something darker. And the cool thing is, because it's a material instant, it will apply to everything the material is applied to. So if we now go also to 0.1, we get a bit more like a darker tone. It's also nice. And I would like, let's make another material instant and call it brick. Brick wall. I think you don't write brick wall like that, but I don't care. Okay, and let's also jump into this texture and do the same stuff, like no mid maps, 2D unfiltered, filter nearest. Okay, and save. Let's take one of those cubes and create a little wall. How about that? Bring it forward. And let's scale it down to 0 point down here on the scale in the. Oh, it's the wrong axis. Too small. It's. Anyway, let's just. It's already in the snapping thing. So let's select it and let's scale it very thin. And the other axis, how about 2 meter? Change this here to 50. Like this. Let's apply our brick wall. Nice! Looks great. Let's hold Alt and Shift. Click those two, hold Alt. Click it out, and the last one, hold Alt. Select all of them, and I just want to switch a tiny bit to the left. You can either get rid of the snapping or just make it very tiny, like 5. Nice, nice. Okay. No, I like the less the tiny amount of emissiveness. Okay, let's just give it a try. Looks great. Looks great. I love it. Okay, so much about the materials. we will now create the jittering for our materials. And the thing is, when we create it and apply it to the master, the jittering will apply to all the like instances. So it's super like awesome to work your way like down. Okay, save the project and let's create the jittering. I always need to like look at my okay, I have here my little note, but let's create it from scratch. So right click, materials, and it's a function. Let's call it PSX jittering. Open it up. Okay, currently we have nothing going on here. We need a jitter amount. We want to control how much jittering we are getting out of the jittering. Let's hold the 1 on the keyboard and left click to get a value. And let's, this is our jitter amount basically. Let's create a comment for that. Jitter amount, okay. Let's make it extreme. Let's make it 2 and how about no? We turning it to, let's turn it into a parameter. Jitter amount. Because this will allow us to control it in all the material incidences individually. For example, if we want the brick wall not to jitter, we can turn it off. And something else like a character, we can turn it on. Okay, so we can now, let's 0 is the minimum and the maximum is 10 and default is 2. And for a jitter amount to work, we need to create a grid, like here in the background. The jittering will apply to this one grid and the vertices will snap to each point in this grid. For this grid, we need to get the relation between the camera and the world position. So where in the world is like the vertice of the character, for example, in relation to the camera of the player character, and that then in relation to the jitter amount. So for that, let's create a world position. World position. So I made right click and let me do that again. World coordinate. It's under coordinates and world position. Okay. Drop down and camera relative world position, including material shader offset. This one, because like we say, like I said, we want the back and forth between world, camera, and the jitter amount. And to create our grid, we need to divide. Because we want to define how fine or big the grid actually is. We only get that by dividing this amount through the relation of camera and world position. Let's floor that shit to ground the value you're getting out, so we're not ending up with some crazy numbers. Now we need to multiply on the math. Multiply the jitter amount, because we now have a grid. This one is basically creating the grid itself that jitter will apply to. But now we need the jittering itself, basically, that will like jump on the grid around. And for that we need to multiply the jitter amount times the jitter grid minus the world position. Anyway, it's not like that big of a thing. Let's plug it into the output. Like I said, this is world position, but just with the drop down change to camera relative. Okay. So now press into the nothingness, like here somewhere, and expose to library. Check that and give it a save. Now we created a function. Let's go into a master material. Now world position offset. So we want the vertices, allow for the vertices of a mesh to be manipulated. And we basically want that with our jittering. Let's draw it out and type in PSX jittering, the function we just created. You can already see the ball is very like wobbly. It's way more like rounded. Here it's way more wobbly. Nice. And when we now, for example, jump into the brick wall, we have here now jitter amount as a value, as a parameter. We can now define how much jittering we want from the big brick wall. Jump back. Let's just like give it a try. Okay, this creates some weird like glitching out because we are using very like primitive shapes for the jittering. More complex shapes will look better with the jittering. So I would recommend you to turn down the jittering for those materials. Let's just do that. Just turn it to 1, for example. So very subtle, next to none. Same for this one. Those shapes are too primitive, too simple. Let's create an incidence just for the floor itself. Tile floor. Or just tile, because I already have that name. And let's also like apply the 0.1, give it a save. And let's throw it on. Okay. Okay, like I said, we need a complex shape to check out the jittering. And for that we have the character Satan, and with the animation, for example, it will help. It will make a static Satan or a moving Satan with like more vertices than like a primitive shape like a cube will make the jittering more visible. But we need to create like a material for him, like one of our master materials. Right click, incidence, and let's call it Satan. And let's throw it into the character and into this one. Double click. Okay. Let's change it to the Satan texture. And now let's jump into the skeletal mesh. Here he is, our boy. And let's change it to Satan PSX. Give it a save. It will take a bit. He looks beautiful. And like I said, you can also like work with drag and drop in Windows. You can just like take the material and throw it in here. Let's take so I can show you the difference between the Satans. Let's take the idle animation, for example. The jittering will be way more visible with this one. Here, for example, a walking animation. Okay, give it a save. Let's check him out. Here with the static one, you barely see any jittering on him, but here with the idle animation, this is the point. Here the jittering is super visible, and 2 is the perfect amount. Also here with the walking. Nice. Okay. We can get rid of that material because we changed it to our other one. And let's delete those 2. And maybe let's bring a bit more of the emissiveness back. Okay, materials, mask material. Set the default to 0.2. Let's drag up the light. Looks great. Awesome. So let's create a very simple like player character. I would go in the folder of player character and let's create assets character and let's call it player character. Okay. So first up, we need to jump into project settings, and we need to create key input functions, basically. Input, it was input here. We have here like action mappings and axis mappings. Action mappings is stuff like jumping, crouching, running, and axis mapping is stuff for moving around. So I would say let's start with the axis mappings so we can actually like move and stuff. Let's press plus and plus and plus and plus 4 times. Let's call the first one. Let's name them first. Walk, forward, and back. The next one is walk, walk, right and left. This one is a look, look, right and left, and up and down. Look up and down. Okay. So now, let's, for back and forth, we are using WASD to move around and stuff. So we need 2 inputs. We need W and S. W for forward, S for backwards. That means we need to press here plus to add a second button. For that, press the keyboard, press your button and S. Okay, so for W, the value is, the scale is 1. Of course, we want to go forward, but S is basically the opposite. It's backwards, so it's -1. Makes sense, right? For left and right, it's a bit weird. But let me show you. So we need a second button, and it's of course A and D. Okay. Oh no, it's the other way around. Right is D and left is A. And this means this is the default and this is the negative, the opposite impulsive of right. Yeah. And if we like, we can change afterwards stuff like that, so it's not like that big of an issue. We can try this already and apply the looking afterwards, because just like walking around as a bean can be also like very retro. Maybe you don't need the look around feature, but for now let's export those settings. Save. Perfect. We can jump back and change stuff later on. Yeah, let's create the character very quickly. Okay, let's create a player character. So I'm here inside the folder, right click, blueprint class. And we have here the character option. A character is a type of pawn that includes the ability to walk around. Player character. Forgot A. Okay. Let's double click him. And we end up with something like this here. We don't have a mesh, so there's nothing to include here. We will just work with this bean. Okay, let's jump into the event graph. We have here multiple options. We have here the viewport, so basically how your character looks like and stuff. The physical bean in this case. And here is also the place where you would like throw in your character mesh and stuff. So, but for now we just want to create the function of like moving around and stuff. And okay, so we just need the... No, we don't. We will need maybe this one later. But yeah, okay, let's just delete it for now. Okay. So, as we remember, we created a function called walk. Walk. And it's again right click and you open up the search option, walk. We have here walk forward, backwards. Oh no, it's not the right one. Walk. Axis events. And let's bring in the other one too. Walk. Left and right. So now we need to add move input. Move input. And we want to duplicate it. You can either right click and duplicate, or you can press Ctrl D. Select it and Ctrl D to duplicate the node. Okay, so we can already like plug those in. But now we so basically if we press like A, W and S, or A and D, this will lead up to this node, but there are currently no like values or stuff or functionality behind it. We need to create this first. For that, we need to get control rotation, and let's the return value here, right click, split, because we don't want to like move up and down. We don't want to fly, we just want to move forward, backwards and stuff. So we just will move around on the Z axis. And we will turn this one into a rotator, so we will isolate it from the rest. Make rotator. And this is wrong, we don't need from Z to Z. And now we will split this one into a, drag it out, forward vector, forward, get forward vector, and may you guessed it, the right vector. Right vector. Because the negative of right is left and the negative of forward is backwards. Okay, and now get the right vector and plug it into the world direction. Now there's only one thing left, and that's the axis value. We need to put it into the scale value. So basically, this allows the movement input to understand what direction it's allowed to go, basically. So it's not flying away, the character is not flying away, it's always bound to the ground. And the left and right pressing will control the scale value of the right vector. So how much right, how much left. The same for forward and backwards. Okay, and give it a save, compile, and save. Now, for the player characters to show up in our world, we need to create a player start. Place actors, player start. Just put him here. Okay, and by default, because we have currently the spectator mode going on, and this is still the case, we want to change it to our character bean. For that, we need to jump into the game mode. But I would say we create our own game mode. That makes way more sense. Click. Was it a blueprint class? Yes. Game mode base. Let's call it PSX. Game mode, not move. Okay, double click. And here on the side we can define our basics for our game, basically. What is our default? The default pawn class is player character. But maybe we should rename him. Let's give it a save. Also important, edit mode, project settings, and let's maps and modes. Switch the game mode base, so the original one, to our new made one, PSX game mode. Default pawn class, player character. Export the whole thing, save, close it down. And now the player start will by default always spawn in our player character. I think we should rename him to PSX player character. Makes more sense. Check if that translated. Yes, it did. Okay. So let's give it a try. That means basically when we now start, we should get our player character. Okay, we cannot fly around anymore. We just have this very limited character moveset. We haven't defined the looking around yet, just walking. So let's do the looking around next, but so far so good. Let's jump into the project settings again, and under inputs define our looking values, left and right looks, looking. So okay, for that we only need the mouse. We have the mouse, and we need the x-axis for left and right, and the mouse y. Why the mouse? I don't know. And this one is the negative one, I think. Should be like this. So looking around. Export, save it. Close it down. Let's jump into the player character again. This is very easy. By the way, we are creating here a first person character. Input or look would be easier. Left and right. And look up and down. This is a controller pitch. So add controller pitch. And the value we get out of our mouse gets in this value here. And the second one is not a pitch but a yaw. Add controller yaw. Controller yaw input, and the same. Now I hope I didn't put the minus value in the wrong direction, but let's just give it a try. And let's press play. Yeah, it's mirrored. Okay. Let's just fix it. Input. I'm never sure about which one should be, which one is X and which one is not and stuff. So I guess this one needs to be minus. This one is positive. I think, or it was X and Y was swapped. We'll see. Okay, it's again wrong. But I mean, that's a minor issue. So this is Y. This is X. Could we try again? Perfect. Now it's working. Okay. So we set up our basic first person control. Let's name it exactly like that. And drag select all over them and create a comment from selection. Basic FPS. Movement. Compile. Nice. So, I guess we could like add jumping too very quickly. That's actually very like easy. Edit, project settings, input again. And this is an action mapping, just for example. Let's call it jump. Jump plus, and let's bind it to the spacebar. Export the whole thing. And let's also put it in here. Right click and it's jump. And when I press, I want to jump. Should be this one. And the jump height is defined here in the, let's give it a compile. Movement, character movement here in the viewport. And you have here, should be somewhere here. Just search it. Jump. Yeah. Jump Z velocity. This value here. Let's give it a try if the jumping is too high. Spacebar. Oh, that's pretty good. My goal would be to get with one jump on one of those cubes. So let's bring one of those cubes forward. Select it, hold Alt and drag it out. I want to jump on that thing. Yeah, perfect. That's the perfect jump size. Okay. No cancel. And let's get rid of that one. It is safe. And now we can like add even more stuff inside our player character. For example, when we start a standalone game, like this. Okay. Our problem is we can't like close the window. It would be nice to have some kind of function inside the game to leave the game. Let's add that. So let's close the window and let's create a function inside our player character, blueprint, and right click and key and a keyboard events down here. Just take anything, click on it. Let's get rid of that one. And let's take the escape. When we press escape, we want to quit the game. Very easy. Create a comment. That would mean basically we will put something like that in the menu, in an actual like game, but for debugging and stuff it's way easier if we just put it into the player character and not into a menu. Let's give it a try. Let's open up the game as a standalone again, and let's give it a try if our function works. Okay, we can jump, we can walk around, we can look around, and with escape, we quit the game. Perfect. Now, another option would also be, which would be very cool, would be to scale or window the game. Should we do that too? No. No, that's too much. Okay. Let's close the player character. Or should we give him very quickly a flashlight? How about that? Let's add a camera. In the viewport, let's add a camera. Let's pull it up. We'll try if it's already connected. Okay, good. So we have now a camera inside our player character. And I would like something around here. In the middle of the character. And we can define here, for example, the aspect ratio of the screen and the field of view, which is super important for like games and stuff. And we need to toggle okay, so currently the thing is our movement doesn't like up and down, doesn't apply to our character anymore. It uses now it uses now the camera of the character, but we can't look up and down anymore. So pawn uses control rotation. Check and lock to no. I think it was this. Okay. Okay, yeah, it was that. Perfect. Now we can bring in a flashlight, for example. Type in under add light. We want a spotlight. Just put it into the character for now. And let's increase it by 30,000. Bring this, maybe make the cone a bit like smaller. And no, we don't want to cast shadows. Let's give it a try. Nice, nice, nice. So we created a flashlight for our little retro game. But as you can see, I can like look around, but it doesn't follow the head. That's why we bound it to actually the body and not the head. So if we take the flashlight, the spotlight, and drag it into the camera like this, it's bound to the movement of the head because our head is the camera. As you can see. But we should like bring it up. Yeah. Maybe a bit like underneath. Okay, that's awesome. Great. Now, we want a function to turn the camera on and off. Okay? And we have here like spotlight and how is it called? I think it's active. Visible, yeah, render visible. Let's uncheck it. By default, we want to uncheck it. It's off. Let's go into event graph. Let's add a little function for us to turn the camera on and off. First up, let's take the spotlight, drag it in. Now we have a little like representable note for the spotlight. It's referring to the spotlight. So if we, for example, like F2 flash light, you see it's renamed because it's now corresponding to it. Let's drag it out and set visible. Set visibility is it. And the new visibility is on. By default it's off. The new visibility is on. And let's take this one up here and Control D and get rid of this. Input, hit F for flashlight. Drag it in. Let's give it a try. By default it should be off. And when we press F it will be visible. So no flashlight. Let's hit F, flashlight. But we can't turn it off. So I want to turn it off again after pressing F a second time. That means we need to get a set visible state that's unchecked. Uncheck. So I just selected Control D. So, and we need something like a light switch. Every time we press this button, it will jump and switch between those two states. And this is called in Unreal Engine a flip-flop node. Drag it out. Flip-flop. And when you press it once, it does A, and when you press it the second time, it does B. And then again, A, B, A, B. This way we can control our flashlight. Let's give it a try. Compile. No flashlight. F. Flashlight. F. Turn it off. F. Turn it on. Awesome. Drag across and let's name it create comment. Flashlight. So what could be also cool for our player character? What could be would be a nice to have? We still have here the camera, for example. And as I told you guys, we have here the field of view and the aspect ratio. Let's just look into it. So currently, let's just play it. It's looking like this, and we have here 90 degrees field of view and 1.777 aspect ratio. When you now press this, you have to toggle constrain aspect ratio. 4:3, like an old PS1. Let's give it a save. Let's try it. Now we have this like aspect ratio. It's very retro. But the 90 is now not like suiting anymore, I think. 60 would be more appropriate. Like this. Like the whole perspective is now a bit like flattening and bringing stuff further like to the camera. Looks great. So this is now our default. We want to change it, the field of view. Let's create a little zoom function. I like to have a zoom function in games to like look at stuff. And later on you can bound it to like functions or like interact or scan or whatever. Let's take the camera, select it and drag it into our event graph. And for my zoom function, I want the right mouse button. Let's grab one of those again, select, Ctrl D. Let's press the keyboard and let's press the right mouse button. And when I press it, I want to zoom in. So basically I want to jump to the field of view of 90 or 100. And when I release it, I want to jump back. Let's drag it out. Field of view, set field of view, camera, this one. Okay, now it's created a second reference, but we don't need it. Let's select this one and D. And our new field of view, we have to, the target needs to be defined, so the system knows what's going on. When we press the right mouse button to zoom in, we want 90 or how about 100, and the default when we release it, which is 60. So let's try this one. Give it a try and right mouse button. No, it's actually the opposite. Oh god, I'm dumb. How about we create as a default, like maybe... No, 60 is good. I like 60. How about 30, like half of it? We zoom in halfway. For a sniper rifle, you would do basically almost the same. So, okay, now. We can zoom in. While holding the right mouse button, release, you jump back. Even more subtle would be, for example, 50. Let's give this a try, compile. This is a bit more subtle. About 40. Yeah, this is fine. Okay. So let's create a comment for this one. A comment and cam zoom. You can further on define maybe more like functions behind the zoom in your like game and stuff. But for now, it's very nice to have. I really like it, especially if you have to like have a walking simulator and stuff like that. And don't forget, inside your camera, you have the default. and after once pressing the right mouse button, it's jumping between back and forth those states. Okay. Nice. Pretty nice. Okay, so much about our player character. What I noticed and what's super annoying for me is when I started as a standalone game, it's popping up windowed in window mode, but I want it full screen. Where would I put the function of my game? I want my game always to pop out full screen. Where would I put it? I could put it like in a character, but something. So the character and all the stuff inside his like event graph is just bound to the character itself. So when you switch a character, or when a character like gets deleted and so dies, for example, there can be some issues. Then there is the option to use the blueprint and the event graph of the level itself. So everything inside this level can be attacked here, open level blueprint. So you can create functions and stuff that only applies to this level. So we have once like a blueprint for a character or for an item or something, once for a level, and then our game mode. The game mode is basically a blueprint that applies to the whole game itself. So we can here open full blueprint editor. And here we have everything about our game itself. And by default, event begin play. So when like the game starts, I want it to be full screen. And for that we need to create a console command. Execute console command. Let's type in, this is actually a command, full screen with small letters. Save, and now let's give it a try. This should apply to the whole game itself. Now it should be full screen, I hope so. Or I'm talking shit, it could also be the case. No! Hell yeah. So now it will be always full screen. Awesome. P. And so like I said, the game mode is a blueprint, a event graph, functions for the whole game itself, no matter when. The level blueprint is just bound to the level itself, like here. And for example, the character is inside just the character. So the character movement, for example. Hi guys, this is me editing the video. I just like something came up about the window, the resolution, and the screen percentage. So wait, let me pull up the configure engine default. We defined our screen percentage by default as 25, so 1/4 of the total resolution, and we aimed in the game mode for full screen. So the game, when it starts, the first thing it does, event begin play, is change into full screen mode. We can actually toggle change that. We can like go in window mode, and we can also change the screen percentage. Later on we would like add this function to a menu, but for now we can like store it inside the player character. I think that would be a nice place. The thing is, so the screen percentage is a value which can be changed in from the default is inside the game engine, but we can change it with the nodes inside the game. But the default screen resolution, if we for example put in r.fullscreen in here, it would always be in full screen or in a resolution, and we couldn't change it. That's the only thing. Don't like text it in the default game engine, just keep it inside the game engine. I had some issues with defining a default inside the game engine, but basically commands are the same thing. We could all of those things put in execute console command. Okay, I know that's very confusing, but I think we should like predefine a little node to change the screen percentage from 25 to maybe 50, so half, and a screen resolution and a little node inside the player character that let us change between full screen and maybe 60/40 by 480 like the PS1 back then, so we can go into window mode. That could come in very handy if you have, for example, one of those curve screens like Map Runner. I've never seen one of those before except for Map Runner, and I don't need it. I rather have like 2 screens, to be honest. But you do you. Anyway, so let's attack that thing. We defined this as a overall default overarching of in our whole game in the game mode. But we want to like change it in the player character. So I don't know if there will be maybe a little conflict, but it should work seamlessly. So let's grab one of those key inputs again, Control D, and I don't know, let's use the P key. The P key is very far away from everything else, and the P key will allow us to change the pixelation, the screen percentage, so P. And just like we did with up here, we will need like a light switch, a flip-flop node. Flip-flop, press it once and it will change to 50%, change it, press P again, and it will change back to 25. Execute console commands. Duplicate this one too, so select it and Control D. Okay, and no. Basically, we could just like copy this here, copy, and put it in like this, But the only exception is all those equal signs inside the execute console command will be replaced with a space. So, spacebar. This is very important. Sometimes I type something in and it isn't working in an execute console command just because the equals is still here, or I forgot about the space. So you need to have a space. So basically our default is 25, so we want change on the second press back to the original, and our new screen percentage will be 50. Let's give it a compile, save it, and let's give this a try, standalone game, launch it, and now when we press the P key, it should change the resolution. Because some people maybe don't like the pixelation. I also heard once that it's hurtful for the eyes for some. Let's give it a try. P. Nice. Now we have 50% screen pixelation. We have still the pixelated textures and stuff. So this is still pixelated, but with P we switch between 25, so 1/3, 1/4 of the pixel of the total screen percentage. This would also boost the rendering, of course, because it doesn't have to render so much, and 50 is half of it. Can also look very nice. But I like 25, to be honest. Okay. A function like this, would be stored just like the quit game would be stored in the menu, but the menu would be like even the menu would be a key press inside the player character, so it's not that bad that we store all that shit inside the player character. Let's select all of those and D, Control D. Let's redefine it to window mode. I don't know, maybe window. Next to the P key is the O key. Oh, why not? P and O. Window and percentage or pixelation. So our default is full screen. Full screen and we want to switch to 440 by 480 r.set res spacebar and 640x 480. And for example, the and of course, if you want like even smaller size, you could put in something crazy also in here, like I don't know, like a square resolution, something like this. That's also an option. If you're into that, why not? Or like full screen would be 120. If you have a curved screen, full screen maybe would be a little weird stretch over a curved screen. So there would be maybe it would be more advisable to go with a console command like that. But we can give this a try. I'm not sure what happens if you create a square, to be honest. Let's do something like this for later on. Okay, but the thing is also I think there could be a third space in between, because it could be like conflicting with the, I think with the screen percentage maybe. Anyway, but there's so much stuff, but I mean nothing crucial. So O flips to from full screen to this one, and when we press O again, it switches back to full screen. Let's give it a try. I thought it would be important to like have it in the game. Tutorial. I'm sorry, I just woke up. And I really want to put out the tutorial. So okay, we have the P key to change the screen percentage and the pixelation, and the O key. Oh nice! Now, as you can see, we have now like a windowed game. It's now windowed. And if when we press O again, what happens? Yeah, okay, we have a little conflict. It's getting one step smaller, but when we press O again, it should be full screen. Okay, okay. I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad. It works with a little conflict, but it's okay. Okay, okay, nice, 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 nice. Let's try something crazy. Let's try the square one. What happens when we use the square one? Go to save. Sometimes you have to just, like, especially in development, you have to, like, try around and shit and figure things out. Okay, let's give it a try. Oh. Ah, okay, okay, I get it. Before, so the space in between is like window mode. So we have full screen, and when I press O, it will window the game. When I press it again, it will change to the squared one. Okay, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. How about something crazy like upscale, like a phone screen? I wanna see what happens if I do that. Okay, so it jumps into from full screen automatically into window mode, and from window mode into our desired resolution. So the third time we press the O button, it gets to the... Okay, that's fine. You can work around that, but yeah. Okay, now O. And O again. Okay. I can see it currently because my screen is... Okay. Okay, but you can do some crazy like shit with that. Nice, let's just leave it like that. Okay, back to the rest of the tutorial. So let's take one step back again to the materials. I have here a wire fence material to create a wired fence. So for this situation we need its own like material with transparency. Let's duplicate our master material. Call it duplicate master material transparent. Transparent. Open it up. Let's change this one to the wireframe, or we can just like drag drop it. So, and it's a transparent PNG. So we want to like toggle the transparency of our texture. And also we should bring back like the pixelation. So let's just jump in. You know the drill. No mipmaps. 2D and filter. Nearest. And we brought back the pixelation. Perfect. And now we need to get the alpha. It's here the transparent, the opacity. We need to activate this one first. For that, let's click it. And here under blend mode to mask opacity mask. Great, now we created our fence. But we need to toggle two-sided because I want to see it from both sides. Perfect. So now we have our own instance of transparent material. Let's just, I don't know, let's try it with one of those cubes, for example. That's awesome. We could put in like a item or something like that. Or like a light, maybe? A light would not look very nice, I think, inside there. So item or something like that. Or let's get a plane. Like this. Rotate it upwards. Let's create a little, like, situation here. Roll the material on. Alt, make it out. Okay, that's looking super cool. This wire material is very, it's nice to have. Okay, also I'm a bit like annoyed by the blurriness of our Satan. Let's just bring back the pixelation very quickly. No mip-maps. Oh, way better. This is great. Maybe create a second light source with a different color to create a moody situation. I'm not sure about the field of view, to be honest. Maybe a bit flatter would be nice. Let's try 50, for example. Okay, this looks a bit more retro in my opinion. We can set this to 30. Okay, great. Okay, so, we have a transparent material we just created. So another thing on our bucket list. And I think next up we could like let's create a volumetric light. So I jump into Photopea. It's basically browser Photoshop and it's free. Okay, I just need to 12080 28 times 128, and let's call it light. Takes transparent background and create. We have this little thing here. Let's create a new layer and a gradient, and we want a the white to transparent gradient. So let's take the black, for example, and put the opacity all the way down to 0, and maybe let's drag it in a bit. And maybe we should like change this one also to white. Now let's drag in the opacity a bit and hit OK. Now on our layer, let's hold Shift so we can like, it's snapping to the grid. Drag it out. Maybe a bit like more here. Okay. Let's drag it a bit more out. Nearest neighbor, and yes. Export PNG. We've got light texture. Like this. Okay. Let's create a second one. Radial or diamond, for example. Like this. So let's change the first one again to the transparency. Let's put it down. Like this. And let's hit the middle. And it was exactly the other way around. Okay. Yeah, like this. Okay. Okay, and let's now we should like make it also white. Make it white. Let's make this one white. Okay. The middle, and let's like this. Okay. Export it as well. Add texture to, give it a save. And another one which is just like a circle. Radial. This will be a drop shadow basically. Okay. And export PNG, and let's call it number 3. So, okay. Close it down. And now we jump into Blender. Great. We need the cube. Edit mode. A. Wait, here I'm actually having the option to show you what I'm pressing. A and G, and hold Control, pull it down like this so the pivot point is on the top. Now we can grab the top and scale it in like this. Delete the bottom part, face like this. And the material, image texture, open, downloads. Material preview, UV editing, project from view. By the way, you don't have to make those. I will put them all into the download folder. Okay, nice. We don't have to make it transparent yet. So now let's hit Shift D to duplicate it and scale it a bit. Shift D and scale it a bit in. Let's grab the vertices. Scale it in like this. Let's bring those vertices a bit. I mean, we can actually like delete the face, delete face. Okay, and this weird cone thing is now our vertex light. And maybe we should bring it even a bit more up like this. Okay. Select the cube, call it something, call it Vo-Light, and export FBX, auto to copy, toggle selected only, big animation turn off, no leaf bones, and face. Jump into the asset folder, call it light. PSX light. Export. Okay. Let's grab my folder. Here it is, and let's throw it in assets. Let's just throw it in like this. And import all. Okay, here we have it. Now let's jump into the material of the light. Maybe let's recall it first. Selected F2, PSX, light. Master material. So now from the download folder. Oh god. Let's grab the other twos. So this was my second try. It's, I think, better for all of those lights in. The preview looks a bit messed up, but they are fine. They are very fine. So let's throw in this one. Okay, and let's plug it into the base color. Or I think we should go with emissive. And let's change it to unlit and opaque to mask. Or translucent, because the light is translucent. Pull the alpha in. And maybe we can use a multiply for both of them. For the emissiveness, we could put in something like 5. And for the opacity, we can actually go down to something like 0. Maybe have to redo it. I am not sure if I like it. Let's just give it a try. Pull it in. It's a bit too opaque for my opinion. Okay, let's just do the light texture very quickly again. The other one should be fine. Project. To 8. Light text, transparent, create, yes, gradient, just this one to white, okay, opacity to 0. Now it should thin out a bit more. Yeah, this is really something you need to like play around and find your sweet spot. Rid of that motherfucker. Close it down. Delete this one. Let's bring in the new one. Oh, it still like looks weird. Okay, maybe now let's give it another save. Okay, this is better now, it's just half. Weird. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you really need to find your sweet spot. way better. Way better. Oh my god. Oh god. And of course it's the wrong way. Re-import. Okay, now. Okay. So I was totally like... Okay. Let's create a ceiling, for example. For example, use the light for in the back here. Like this. Let's scale it out. We can like drag it up a bit. Give it a look. Okay, but now we have a different issue. But I mean, it looks nice. It looks nice. But we have collision. We need to get rid of the collision. Let's take the cone. The mesh. So wait, let me show you here the skeleton static mesh, collision, remove. Give it a save. Now we are able to go through the light. Stand even in the middle of the light. Maybe we can create a little like spotlight. Or maybe we put him behind the bars. That looks nice. But the subtle fade is prettier, I think. But yeah, that's totally something you have to play around. Yeah, it's great. Very quickly. It's better like that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Anyway, we will one, just with one. Let's convert this one into a parameter. Light, texture, text, texture. Give it a save. And let's create this to parameter 2. Light emission. Let's define it very quickly. The default emission is 1. The maximum is, how about 10? Yeah. Oh, and we can do something too. True. I totally forgot about that one. We can color in our lights. So we need another multiplier. So select it, Control D, plug it in like this. Now hold 3 and left click to create a color value. Plug in the white one. This will now color our light. And for this, we should go with a parameter. Like color. Let's set the default to white. Perfect. This is our master. Let's create an instance and call it Material 1, for example. Let's apply it. And let's play a bit around with it. I think we should like scale it out. Like this. And let's play around with the emission. No, that's too harsh. Okay, let's leave the default. But the light color, we can change it to blue. Save. It matches our like point light here. That too. Let's put it more next to the floor. And let's pull him again forward. And let's try a different... Oh, and for example, wait. We can also, for example, let's put it on him and throw on the light. Scale it out. He looks like, I mean, you can use it for like magic stuff or NPCs and such. So the player knows, oh, okay, there is an NPC, we have to talk to him and stuff. So this can come in very handy. Let's create another incident and let's try the material number 2. Let's change the texture, the light texture, to the second one. Down here we can set it to primitive. Okay. Oh, and maybe two-sided. Or maybe not. Okay, let's for example, we should throw those into our materials. Let's put in here this thing. Let's take a plane. Apply our material. I don't know, let's turn it red or something like that. Maybe this has to do with the texture. Compress without alpha, no? Doesn't look like it will change or something. Anyway, let's just accept. You are way smarter than me. Okay, do something like this. Make it two-sided. And no, don't take the master out. Those. Okay. Maybe also a little point light there. You should do something more flame-like. Maybe we can rid of this one. Okay. Okay, this is freaking awesome. I mean, of course you can get way more like creative than this, and let me... The light thing is its own like logic and stuff you need to play around. I, for example, really like this now. Like, this brings so much atmosphere to it. Maybe in an angle it would like look a bit better. Something like this. The thing is, I think it needs to make sense for the viewer. So maybe we can bring up the walls. Hold Alt. So it looks like there's the light is coming from this part. Like a little window. And now we can reuse those again. Okay. I have to say I don't love this situation here. We just delete it and let's change. No, this looks nice, like the moonlight. I mean, come on, this is just great. This is cinematic as hell. Okay, nice. Okay, basically 2 more things and then I will... Let me close down Blender very quickly. 2 more things and then I will call it a day. Render distance and fog, like Silent Hill. We get a lot of like performance out of setting up the render distance. Let me just bulk out the scene a bit more. Like, I don't know, like this. Just select everything and duplicate it to make a little corridor. Oh no, let me just do first up. For building out the scene, change it to unlit. Makes it way easier. Change this to 100. Put it out like this. Now duplicate everything here to make a long corridor. Alt and drag it out like this. Maybe let's close the wall very quickly. Give it a save. Let's give it a try. And look at that, you know? This is freaking awesome, right? So okay, we built out a little level, very atmospheric one, and let's create little foggy atmosphere. For this, we need a material, post-process material, and I would say let's first upgrade a post-process material. For post-processing material, let's call it PSX. Post PSX underscore org. Open it up. Okay, and now it's not a surface, it's a post process. Okay. Now we need a texture coordinate to define where the fog is. A scene texture. Scene texture. We need to change this to post-process input 1. Like this. Break it out to component mask. Component mask, and we want to cover RGB colors. Now we need a linear lerp? No. Is it find the lerp? No. Linear interpolate. Okay. Sorry about the coughing. Super sick. Plug it in to emissive color, and now we already have a foggy situation. Now, we previously already learned this. Hold the free button and left click to create a color. Plug it in. This will be our fog color. And let's turn it to white. So we defined like this overlay, this texture, which is covering the RGB spectrum, and we defined it as this overlay, defined it as a white. Okay, and now we need to define where exactly the current like layer is in our view of the camera. So we need to get the absolute world position. World position. We need the relation between absolute world position and the camera position, and we want to subtract it. Camera position WS, subtract. Vector length, because we want to define the in between. Vector length. And it's not, it's a V2, not V3. And divide. And this is basically the distance of the fog. Let's create a parameter. Promote this to parameter. Fog distance, fog distance. And this will have Unreal units.
It's its own measurement system basically, but let's just trust me and go with 1500. Minimum is 0. And the maximum is 10,000. Okay. So this lets us define where the fog like ends. And let's just plug it in. And perfect. We made our fog. Let's define this also as a parameter as fog color. Fog. Give it a quick save. Create a material instance. Fog, I don't know, 1. Now we need a post-process volume. Post-process volume. This is this little sphere. And the thing is, you can... I just show you. For example, if you have an outside world and an inside world, you can just like scale it to a certain size or something like that. And as long as you're inside the volume, you see the applied like effects and stuff. Material, so I select the volume here in the outliner. Post-process volume. Put it all in, give it a save. Post-process volume. This empty cube thing. Type in mat, post-process materials, plus choose asset reference and post our instance. Now let's give it a try. And we are currently inside this volume, this cube. When we leave it, it turns off. When we go back in, it applies again. Okay. But we also can make it unbound, so which means no matter where the volume is, it will apply to the whole like game. So here in search, unbound, infinite. So no matter where we go, it will apply. So, and now to the last part before I let you go. Render distance. So we know we put in for the units. Let's just try very quickly a different color, maybe black or something like that. Okay. Oh, that looks also nice. That looks nice. Creepy. Like red. Oh, nice. Nice. So yeah, please feel free and play around with it. For the fog distance, we have 1500 as our fog distance. Let's go with 1000, make it closer. And now we know, okay, the fog is ending with 1000. So we have here, for example, with those cubes, with down here when we scroll down. Where is it? Let's just type it in. Oh, it should be the LOD. But I mean, it's easier if we just like... So let's select all of our cubes here with shift and click. LOD, not general LOD, advanced. No, it's LOD. And minimum and desired draw distance. So we defined it with 1000. So let's try that. So now they will pop into existence when we are 1000 units away from the assets. Okay, maybe even closer so we can actually see the effect. Now they pop in. They vanish and now they pop in and render in. This will be very helpful for a lot of things. So we can now, for example, grab all of those walls, for example, and let's just straight up select everything, select immediate all descents, so all the meshes, and just the pillars. Give them a render distance of 500. Everything here. The floor is a different kind of mesh, that's why it's not like possible. Type in 500. Okay. Maybe also for our little Satan man. LOD, advance, level of detail and draw distance is 500. Why not? Give it a save. Of course I messed up. Can you actually see it? As I get close, they render into existence. But when you work, for example, with fog, I would put the render distance just like the fog distance. Okay, let's define them with 1000. I think 1000 is good enough. LOD 1000 and him 1000. The fog distance, let's so 500. Give it a save, give it a try. Now everything beyond the fog, here we can see it actually. It doesn't render in, but when we proceed to walk forward, it will pop into existence. Very nice. Great, great. So let's just ship that thing and end this tutorial, I would say. We covered nearly everything. Everything else would be more about like usual Unreal Engine stuff. But this is everything like retro related to, yeah, without plugins, we managed to set up our Unreal Engine. Yeah. So even beyond the retro stuff, I explained how to use Unreal Engine 5 as a retro game engine. And yeah,